Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another daily live webcast called Jencast, a live show that happens Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern here on yfelive.com. I'm your host, Jennifer Donogh, and today's is another thematic Thursday. Today's theme is zero waste homes, and so we have Bea Johnson. She's the author of one of my favorite blogs and also my favorite books, Zero Waste Home, and it's all about the zero waste movement. Now, to many people that has a kind of a strange range of connotations and what that means, but as you can see, Bea is not your average granola hippie. She's definitely fun, dynamic, gorgeous, and very, very smart and talented. So let's go ahead and bring her on the show. Bea, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me, Jen.
So tell us, what is zero waste? And like I said, I feel like when I say zero waste, people will be like, so you don't, it's all about not throwing things out, it's about recycling more. So what is it to you? Because you are the spokeswoman, I feel like, for this movement.
Yeah, zero waste sounds scary to a lot of people, but zero waste means different things for different people and different businesses. So for example, for a town, it could mean diverting as much waste as possible from the landfill by installing recycling bins or composting programs and trying to teach their residents how to use them. For my household, it means basically applying the 5 R's in order. That means refusing the things that we do not need, reducing the things that we do need, reusing by swapping everything that's disposable by a reusable alternative and buying secondhand, and then recycling only what we cannot refuse, reduce, or reuse, and composting the rest. So in the end, we have very little waste left. For example, our yearly waste fits in a quart-sized jar.
Yeah, well, and if people go to your Facebook page, they can see some examples of how the small amount of waste that you actually produce. Now, Bea, I first found out about you in Sunset Magazine. How long ago was that? Was that 3-4 years ago?
Yeah, it was January 2011, I think.
Well, and I feel like after that, I started seeing you everywhere. So I've been following your blog, Zero Waste Home, and then you, like I said earlier, I saw you on The View, because I watch The View. It's my guilty pleasure, and you came on, and I got so excited. I texted my mom right away. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Bea, you have to watch her. And then you have a book now, like I said, Zero Waste Home, that has been #1 in France. You said it's #3 in Quebec, and you're being interviewed all around the world. So this is a movement that I think is catching on quickly, and it's in large part due to you, because you're not someone that is...
So it's very exciting. You were mentioning Sunset Magazine. We had been in the New York Times prior to that. But the New York Times was just an article that didn't have any pictures, and I think people just went crazy thinking that my lifestyle was totally extreme, and people pictured me all hairy and granola and probably with an interior or at least kitchen countertops filled with jars or plastic things that I was reusing or washing plastic bags. But when Sunset did it differently, they showed what my interior was like and what my family was like, and people realized that we are modern. We're not hippies. Well, we don't live in the woods. We live a very modern and actually very normal life. It's just a very simple life, and that I think attracted a lot of people. They I think saw that in order to live zero waste, you don't have to give up your aesthetics or your way of living.
And actually, I feel like it improves aesthetics, and that is why I was drawn to you, is that it's not a granola hippie. I'm not fermenting things. My house is not dirty. I'm not using like old whatever. I'm using quality things that will last through the years. And so you guys can get just like a little peek. Where is the camera right now? She has, even the cover of your book has a portion of your home in it, and it's beautiful. So, it's not something scary, like you said, to get into, but Bea, why can't we just recycle things? Why should we focus on reusing?
We can recycle things. Our family does recycle something. So we put out a very few recycling out per week. Just for example, papers that have been printed on both sides and the bottles of wine that friends bring over. We get our wine refilled, but we let friends bring bottles of wine over if they want to. We tried to do zero recycling, but we found that it was way too constraining. People need to understand that recycling is not the answer to our environmental crisis. There is a lot of uncertainties associated with recycling. A lot of what we put on the curb, we don't really know for sure what happens to it. I mean, some ends up in China, others in the ocean. But the consumer is much more certain and in charge of refusing, reducing, and reusing. That's something that you can see, that you can tally. Whereas you're recycling whatever you put on the curb, you can't really know for sure what's going to happen to it. People also need to understand that recycling does take a lot of resources. The whole everything that's needed in order to recycle takes a lot of resources. So it is important, I mean, to us, it's more important to refuse as much as possible, reduce second, and reuse third before we even think about recycling. For us, recycling and composting is really a last resort before landfill.
Well, and to me, it feels, apart from the environmental concerns, my main motivation in going zero waste and continuing to go zero waste in more aspects of my life is the simplicity, the idea that you're more thoughtful about your decisions and you live life more on purpose than when you're just accepting anything into your home. And I read an article recently that was published in Time magazine about a book that photographed food from around the world and these families. I'm sure you've seen it. There's these families that are sitting around tables full of food, and productizing a food is a much more common thing around the world than I really thought it was. And as young female entrepreneurs, a number of us are also doing this. We're entering into business because we had a favorite superfood that we created and we blended and we put it together, and now we're packaging it and selling it. So what companies are doing this right as far as, providing people with bulk options, reusable options, maybe compostable packaging, that type of a thing?
Yeah, I'm not crazy about compostable or recyclable packaging, because there's so much of what we buy actually doesn't really need packaging. So to me, the companies that are doing it right are the companies that are providing the consumer package-free alternatives, and that's what I hope to see more and more come up on the market. I'm really happy that since I wrote the book, a lot of people are contacting me and telling me that they're opening zero waste stores, providing package-free alternatives, and to me that's the future. And I'm really positive in seeing the future businesses apply that more and more to theirs.
Well, and there's a few people that are on. Well, it's funny. There's a few people on the chat that are saying that they love stuff. Corey. And then Vicky, she's saying that 90% of her shoes are secondhand. So this isn't just about going in and making sure that you're purchasing food products that are out without packaging. One of the things that you did that I've always loved following is that you'll wear one dress, 30 different ways over 30 days. And so it's about, going back and thrifting. And I feel like that's another area that, like I said at the beginning, young female entrepreneurs are excelling at. We're doing this whole sharing economy. We are, when we're done wearing a clothing item, we are creating technology that makes it easy to share that clothing item with another person. We're making it easy for people to share cars, that type of thing. However, 100% I feel like of the women we've featured on here that offer a retail product do so with shipping in mind. So they make a living by shipping their products across the world. So I
think that's the problem with the swapping sites online for clothing. I rather actually see more and more good quality thrift stores pop up. I think it's more accessible. People want to try things on before they buy them. One of the reasons that a lot of people are afraid of buying things secondhand online is because they can't really see it, they can touch it, they can try it on. I personally buy very seldom things on eBay that I have to wear. I much rather go to the thrift store. And when I go to the thrift store, I go twice a year, like in April and in October, and that's when I do my shopping for the year and for my family. And but I choose pieces that are versatile, that can be worn up or down. For us women, it's actually easy to do depending on the shoes that we wear, the accessories that we wear with it. And we don't need a lot. We actually, with just a few things, people think that if you have a big closet, you have more options. But actually, I found that it's the opposite. When you only pick the ones that, the favorite pieces that you have in your closet, and usually they say actually that normal wardrobe is, we only wear 20% of our wardrobe, and that the other 80% we don't really need or use often. So I think it's, we can all basically look at our closet and figure out what are those 20%. And those 20% are usually the pieces that fit us better, that feel comfortable, that are good quality. And if we stick to those, and then we're able to play more with them, we can be creative into dressing them up or down or layering to have more fun with it.
Well, and you know what's hard about all of this is that as consumers, we're hit with so many different marketing messages that makes us feel like we have to have something, or when we're shopping, there's impulse buys, that type of a thing. And when we cut the ties of cable, now when I see a commercial, it feels very foreign to me, and I don't want things like I wanted things in the past. So what can we do as consumers to be more zero waste and to move this, to get businesses to notice that we don't want all of this packaging, we don't want anything excessive, that type of a thing?
Yeah, the consumer really needs to understand that every time we shop, we vote. So it is extremely important to think twice about what you buy. So if you buy, let's say, something that's secondhand, then you're boosting the secondhand market. If you buy a non-packaged good, then you're saying yes to more bulk in the future. It's a way to invest your money in the future and support practices that you believe in. If you're not happy with the packaging, if you feel that you're forced to buy a packaging and you're not happy with it, then say it. Send a message to the manufacturer and ask for alternatives. You also make a very good point that when we're exposed to the media, when we watch a lot of TV or we read a lot of magazines, then these medias are made to make us want more. So if you reduce your exposure to these things, if you reduce your exposure to TV and magazines, then you'll find that you're actually happy with what you have. You want less. You're just happier with, you're happy with your decor, you're happy with your wardrobe, and you feel that you don't necessarily need a new pillow to make your environment or your decor more exciting.
Yeah, well, that's all good points. And I should say, as far as the voting goes, Bea does have an app. Let me see if I can pull it up really fast so you guys can see it and show it off. There's an app for bulk apps, or for bulk, finding bulk around your area, that's made it a little bit easier on me. And I actually put one of the wineries that I went to, because Bea, in Washington State, wine, you're not able to just go and refill it. You have to use their own bottle, and most wineries don't participate in anything like that. So,
and in California, you have to, you can't, in France, you can just go any day and they'll refill your bottle. But in California, they don't do that. They do it through events. So they have, let's say, bottling events where you can bring your own bottles and get them refilled. So every state is different.
Yeah, so now, as far as government regulation goes, what's your thoughts on that? Because like I said earlier, if I take a jar to a meat counter, their first answer to me is it's a health code violation, and I absolutely cannot fill this jar for you. And with the wine bottles, they're actually lobbying in Olympia. I spoke with one of the wine companies that proposed the legislation to be, because with beer, I can take my growler and go get it filled at the bar, at the brewery, but for wine, they have to have it labeled on what the alcohol percentage is. And so they put this toward in the state to get that done with, and California wineries came up and lobbied against it. So what are your thoughts as far as government regulation goes?
I think it's, it's really sad that when we've actually put so many regulations in place for food safety that today we're trying to undo some of them that were a little bit excessive, and it's taking more work to undo them than it was to actually put them in place. As far as bring your jar to the store, the rules are a bit different everywhere, I guess, in every state and sometimes even counties. But don't just let a staff at the store or behind a counter tell you that it's against health and safety regulations. If one tells you that, try a different day, talk to the manager, ask them for a code, because often they won't have a code that's actually, they won't have a code to provide you. I found even myself, I was shopping in the same store for about 3 years, and they had always refilled my jars. And then one day I showed up, and a new staff member was behind the counter, and I asked the person to put some deli in my jar, and she said, "No, I'm sorry, it's against health and safety regulations." And that way, when they say that, it's the best way to get rid of you and not have to deal with your jar. And I said, "No, I'm sorry, you've been filling my jar for 3 years. Or at least your store has. Please go ask your manager." So she went and asked her manager, and then came back to me. She said, "Okay, I'll fill it." So she filled it. And then I went back there a month later, and again, the same person told me, "No, I'm sorry, it's against health and safety regulations. I cannot fill your jar." And I said, "You filled it a month ago. I had you ask the manager." And she said, "Okay, I'll ask the manager." She went and asked the manager, came back, she said, "Okay, I can fill your jar." I mean, I'm thinking, at least I know that it's possible in the store, but someone that would have tried it for the first time would have thought, "Oh, it's against health and safety regulations. I'm not trying again, and I will tell everyone that you can do it in that store." You have to keep trying. And you have to push the envelope. You have to say, this other store did it. I've gone to a Safeway where they said, "Well, we can do that." I'm like, "Well, Whole Foods does it." They're like, "Oh, okay, well, give me your jar, I'll fill it." So, it's kind of, it's really all over the place. So, but don't put your arms down, try it again.
I love that you bring up that there is a tremendous power in being a consumer. It's your dollars that's supporting the store, and the more of us that keep doing and keep pressing on it, the more the store is going to have to say, "Okay, here you go." So, Bea, now I want to end this conversation bringing it back to us as business owners. What would you like to see businesses do in the next year that will positively impact the movement as far as zero waste goes?
Well, to me, any business that helps the consumer reduce or reuse or recycle or rot is a great step forward for zero waste. So for me, the businesses that have helped me as a consumer, for example, as far as reducing, is in my town, Whole Foods is the only place really where I can purchase bulk or I have at least a nice selection of bulk. If you're a manufacturer of anything that is usually sold in packaging, I urge you to see if you can sell it to stores, health food stores that would allow you to sell it unpackaged. There is also companies like ICO, which help the consumer recycle things that we didn't think were recyclable and that a lot of people throw in a landfill. For example, used clothing. If you have clothing that's no longer repairable, a lot of people think that there is no way to recycle it. There is ways to recycle it. Same for tennis shoes or shoes in general. ICO, and I can't remember the website or their domain, where you put in place the Nike Reuse a Shoe program, which helps me as a consumer recycle my boys' tennis shoes once they're no longer usable. They recycle them into basketball courts. So again, also secondhand shops are a great alternative to buying new, and this is where I hope more and more businesses will flourish into any of the areas of the 5 R's that I mentioned earlier.
Well, and I want to bring people back to Zero Waste Home as a book. I have it on my Kindle, and it's a fantastic resource. I constantly say, "What would Bea do?" And I'll pull up the book and just do a search and actually see you'll have recipes for mascara. You have, someone was saying something about going to their local butcher. I mean, resources, like you're saying, websites that help people recycle. You have a whole area on junk mail. So again, definitely everyone check out her book. Bea, where can everyone find you online?
The best way to find me online is through my blog. So it's at zerowastehome.com. I'm on Facebook, on Twitter, on Pinterest, on Instagram, I have a YouTube channel. Anyways, all these things are under the name of Zero Waste Home, so it's really easy to find me.
Perfect. All right, Bea, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Well, thank you for having me. It was great sharing my lifestyle with you guys.
Oh, thank you. All right, everyone. So we've just been watching Bea Johnson. She's the author of Zero Waste Home, and she blogs at zerowastehome.com. Make sure that you check it out. You subscribe to her. It's not even just about the environmental friendliness of removing packaging, reducing your waste, that type of a thing. It really does, as business owners, free up your mind to not be making these silly decisions as far as picking which products, that kind of thing. It allows you to be much more creative and really put your energy back into serving others. So you've been watching.
I'm sorry, I'll jump in to say that if for a consumer, or me as a consumer, zero waste has allowed us to save a lot of money and save a lot of time. So it would do the same to a business. It's you have to think that there is a lot of money to be saving around zero waste.
I love that. All right. So everyone, you've been watching the Daily Live Webcast Jencast. Thank you so much to Bea. She's one of my zero waste heroes. Everyone have a fantastic Thursday.